Hi everyone, welcome to Type Talks. Today we're here to talk about why ENFJs love INFJs. And so I'm going to do a series on people talking about their favorite types. And so Emrys is an ENFJ, and yeah, I'd love to hear your ideas on this topic.
Okay, so as I've been thinking about this, I'd say the main things I love about INFJs have been I have several INFJs in my life who are very dear friends. Have been an ability to interact with the internal and I would say like archetypal and spiritual worlds, as well as just the psychological world in a way that is just as extensively playful and connective as the way that most people, go to a bar or an event or a shared gaming activity or something in order to connect. With my INFJ loved ones, we have been able to do the same kind of play and connection and exploration entirely in the internal worlds. I've also noticed that INFJs tend to have a particularly strong sense of the reality of subjective reality, that they can treat the internal human world and the strange things that, well, first of all, can treat the internal human world as just as real as the external one, and can treat, by extension, the strange things that humans experience that are fairly, in one way or another, unexplained. Like most people in their life at some point have some kind of strange, like ghost sighting or spiritual experience or UFO encounter or something that exists on the fringes of what's accepted as like the way the world works. And INFJs don't have to dive into like, this is exactly what UFOs are, or something like that, in order to accept those weird aspects of human experience as valid or real. And I use those to be kind of hyperbolic, but it shows up even in how like things that people describe as like psychic or strange phenomena, where you're like picking up on what's happening with a friend on the other side of the world without knowing how you know that something's wrong or that something's really good. There's all these like places. I'm using these to describe the places where the internal human world interacts with the external. And I've noticed that not only can INFJs interact with the internal one as if it's just as real, but they can bring the internal to the external and both play on those fringes, and then, like, more importantly, bring internal psychological and archetypal realities into external expression in a way that gives them external reality isn't the right phrase, but like external manifestation. And so they become even more able to be interacted with, both by like the INFJ and the people they're speaking with, but also by like people in general. So Carl Jung's a really good example, right? Like taking all these strange archetypal realities and myths and turning that into something that can be used psychologically, or something that has informed Western culture for hundreds of years, so that those things move out of the realm of just pure mystery and confusion and into something that can be fully interacted with. Similarly, the other thing I've noticed about the way INFJs seem to interact with these things is that they're able to take those internal realities, whether they're opinions and perspectives or full-on archetypes or psychological experiences, and see each one of them as a sort of equally valid way of seeing the world, which is really useful both for like understanding those things and for like planning what perspectives one wants to take and how one wants to show up in the world, but also just for enjoying them. So it can be pragmatic, where it's like not that non-judgment of different perspectives enables like an ability to interact with different perspectives and to even counteract different perspectives if the perspective is like particularly malicious or like narcissistic or something, but also an ability to see how each perspective brings a particular beauty and is a part of what it means to be human. So like even in the more extreme examples of like, let's say a serial narcissist who is like manipulating people, it's like I've noticed that with INFJs, they can take a perspective on reality like that, dive into it, and understand like that narcissist is within each and every one of us. Like that, those traits exist in us in potential. And so there comes an understanding of those traits, which helps both for creating a healthy environment, which for me as an ENFJ is really important, for using FE to like create, as Denzel recently said, like intimacy and safety, but also is helpful for like doing internal healing, where you are dealing with the negative aspects of the self or the shadow, and finding healing from internalized traumas or like aspects of the self that are considered to be unacceptable. And then also, so there's a pragmatic external world component, there's an internal healing component, and then there's a just playful enjoyment of the entire rainbow universe, the entire spectrum of what it means to be human component to it, which is very helpful to me because as an ENFJ, I tend to engage FE and SE together, where there's external world and intimacy, engaging FE and NI together, where the NI is almost taking the place of SE, where the internal world becomes the ground of intimacy and the place of meeting, is really wonderful.
It creates a very beautiful conversational partner to have an ENFJ in your life if you're an INFJ, because you have someone who likes your wavelength, and it enriches their inner world to hear about your thoughts. You almost get the ENFJ more in touch with their NI. And so it's quite an amazing pairing, because both the INFJ and ENFJ like to talk about similar topics typically. They're quite humanitarian in scope, or spiritual, or psychological, or something unpacking society as a whole, or human nature as a whole, or the thing underpinning all of this. And you're able to explore it with someone who's equally enthusiastic to jump into it. And so your mind feels less lonely because it has someone to explore the depths of the world with. And
I don't know how you guys normally do it by yourselves. Just imagine you sit in dark rooms and stare at walls as archetypes dance across Plato's cave or something, but it's really nice to have a companion to go with.
Yeah, a companion in the metaphysical to discuss these things with. And so thanks, Emrys, for sharing your thoughts on INFJs. I'm sure the INFJs in your life are really glad to have you there, and that you're irreplaceable to them. And so to have someone who can understand you on a level that feels so smooth and so like home, I'm sure it is something that they can't find anywhere else. And so I'm glad that you exist, and I'm sure the INFJs in the audience are glad that you're able to convey to them your affection for them. Because sometimes INFJs, they don't always have the best self-confidence. And so,
well, I'm radiantly glad that you and the other INFJs exist. You are wonderful.